As several of us here at TGeekdom are big Superman fans, it was no surprise we wanted to give our take on the new SyFy series, Krypton. With each episode, we'll do a recap of important events, with our commentary of course. That being said, we present to you the pilot, Episode 1. And of course, spoiler alert. The opening to the show gives us the layout of what we are to see in the series.
Kal-El, my future grandson. This is the story of the House of El. Our ending is yet to be written, but this is how we began. Ours is a story of sacrifice and triumph. How the House of El led a revolution against tyranny. The story of your family isn't how we died, but how we lived.
This leads us to the opening scene, where we get our first look at the planet Krypton, where all the cities are under domes, with all the outside world having been destroyed and freezing and a wintry cold. Then we see Kandor City, where we see an older gentleman wearing a very familiar red Superman cape being escorted by guards. This is Val-El, and he is the great-great-great-grandfather of Superman, and this is 200 years before Kal-El's birth. We hear the narration again that this is where the House of El almost ended. Val-El is on trial by the Kryptonian leader, called the Voice of Ra, and Darren Vex. Val-El is charged for sedition and found guilty. The entire House El is stripped of their name and rank, and Val is executed in front of his family. Fast forward 14 years, and we see a much older 23-year-old Seg in a bar fight. He is now rankless, without any position or future. He and his bartender friend Kem organize fights for money. Outside the bar, we see an odd figure in sneakers, baseball cap, and hoodie who is obviously not from Krypton and is keeping an eye on Seg. Our next scene, we get to see the military guild. It is here that the characters of Allura Zod and her daughter Lyta Zod are introduced when mother and daughter take on each other in practice combat. You may recognize the actress playing Allura Zod from elsewhere in the DC universe, as she's also appeared as an Amazon in Wonder Woman and Justice League. Next, we see Seg save the Voice of Ra and Darren Vex from a terrorist during a trial being held. As a reward from Darren Vex, Seg is offered to join as a member of House Vex by binding with Darren's youngest daughter, Nisa. In addition, he would be given a rank again and assigned to the Science Guild. Now let's take a moment to explain, in this society, there is no such thing as sexual reproduction, and binding is merely a joining of DNA in a chamber and babies are grown in pods, but we'll get to that later. Now, this might be a good time to mention that Zeg is actually in a relationship with Lyta. Not to fear, because she is actually binding with someone else as well. Our mysterious stranger in the baseball cap reappears and tells Seg that he's traveled over a long time and space to find him. Also, that his name is Adam Strange from Earth, and he's come with a warning that someone from the future is on their way to destroy Krypton. When Seg asks why, Adam tells him that Seg's grandson is going to be the greatest hero in the universe, and the person coming to destroy Krypton wants to erase him from history forever. Adam then hands him a sunstone with the emblem of House El and tells him to find the fortress. He then disappears into thin air. In the next scene, Seg and Nisa are walking through the Genesis Chamber. If you've seen Man of Steel, then you'll easily recognize the Genesis Chamber, although this one's much more elaborate. After a brief blood test, it calculates and names their future male offspring and shows his entire lifespan, rank, status, and even his longevity. Next, Seg's mother steals a ship and takes Seg to his grandfather's secret fortress outside the city in the Wastelands. Using the Sunstone to enter the fortress, we find that Val had been studying the universe in search for other life. In his research, he had found that there was a life form that was consuming worlds and posed a danger to Krypton, and that's why he was silenced by the Voice of Ra. On the way back to the city, Seg's mother is arrested. During her trial, both Seg's mother and father are shot and killed, protecting the secret of the fortress, leaving Seg as the last of the House of El. Seg later goes back to the fortress, where he is once again joined by Adam, who gives Seg a red cape stating that it belongs to Seg's grandson, Kal-El. It is seen slowly dissolving, and Adam states that it's like an hourglass, and once it's gone, Superman will have been wiped from existence. He then tells Seg that the threat is an entity that consumes civilizations and that it won't just stop at Krypton, that the whole universe is at stake. The entity is known as the Collector of Worlds, and better known as Brainiac. That's all for this week. Join us each week as the series continues. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to leave us your comments. We love to hear from you. Until next week, we'll see you next time.